I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Fjallraven Kanken Outlong, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. If you're familiar with the style of the Fjallraven Kanken or the Fjallraven Kanken, then this is going to look very similar to you, but I think the best way to describe this bag is that they took every feature that somebody wants on the Kanken and that people have been talking about wanting on the Kanken, and they put it on this thing, specifically the water bottle pockets, which we'll get into. But you can see the outside looks pretty standard. We have this front pocket here, we have the nice logo on the front, the little Kanken. We also have the top carry handles, which are pretty standard as well. We'll talk about those as well. But on the outside, it looks pretty simple, pretty basic. The biggest thing that you can see here are the presence of these water bottle pockets. This material here is their Vinylon F material, which is the same as their regular Kanken. So again, if you're familiar with that, then you'll know what that feels like. For those who are not familiar, it's kind of like I would say like a more flexible or like a softer, almost like a wax canvas feel. It's pretty flexible. It's not very crunchy, but it has like a heritage look to it. This comes in a couple different colors. Same with the Kanken. They have a bunch of different colors in those. So you got a lot of that same style that a lot of people who like the Kanken like. So with this on the outside, like I said, pretty simple. With these side pockets here, these are designed to hold water bottles. One of the biggest complaints that people have with a Kanken is that the water bottle pockets are actually just straight up not really functional at all. And in this case here, they added these pockets on the outside. So they have a little elastic drawstring that you tighten. It's like a cinch cord, I guess, really. You cinch that down. There's a little bead on the outside here where you can grip. You just pinch like a normal kind of drawstring bag. And then that is nice and open for you otherwise. This water bottle that I have over here is, I believe, a 28 ounce, 24, it's a 24 ounce, I can never remember. That's a 24 ounce water bottle, and it felt super secure in there, had no issues with it. I don't really love the aesthetic of the water bottle pockets, just like when they're chilling. I think if you cinch it down, it's a little bit better, but they're still pretty obvious on the outside, but you don't have to keep a water bottle in there. You could do another smaller item or something like that. This is a little bit heavier than the regular Kanken, but not significantly, so I wouldn't say that that's like a deal breaker. The harness system is a little different from other Kankens, or the regular Kanken rather. We have mesh on the back panel, which is not something that you traditionally see. It adds a little bit of breathability. The mesh itself isn't super thick. It's maybe like a ½ inch or a ¼ inch or something like that. But it does add a little bit of breathability, a little bit of comfort. So if that's something that you're missing, this is definitely great for that. I did notice that I could feel this buckle and just the top carry handles here a little bit on my back. Not something overly aggressive, but just something to note. With the shoulder straps, we also have that same padding that's on the back panel, similarly shallow, so it's not super super cushy, but I did find them to be pretty comfortable. The mesh itself though it's soft, but it's just vaguely scratchy. And so when I had a tank top on, it wasn't the most comfortable on my bare shoulders. But in the scheme of things, for the most part, I'm usually wearing a t-shirt when I'm wearing a backpack, just because the rub on just a tank top could kind of bug me over time with any backpack. So not that huge of a deal, but something to keep in mind if you wear a lot of tank tops. And then we also have a sternum strap on a sliding rail, a little bit hard to adjust on the fly, but overall does pretty good. And then we have the top carry handles, which are something that we see in a lot of Kankens. That's something that this little snap keeps the handles together. There's no padding or anything on the handles, so it's not the most comfortable to hold it this way, but the bag doesn't get that heavy. So between this entire carry system, for how much stuff you put in this bag, I think it does a really good job holding all of that weight and still being comfortable on. And then with this strap adjustment system, you can see that the straps point upward, and that is so that you can pull this completely taut, and it flattens the strap against the back panel. You can buckle that up top, and then it lays kind of flatter. I've used this as like a luggage pass-through before when both straps are tightened down, but it just keeps it from like flying all over the place, especially if you're carrying it in tote mode. But because of this strap like facing up, it can be a little bit hard to adjust on, and this kind of flaps all over the place, which I'll show you in a second. This is the bag on my body. You can see that it hangs pretty basic. It's a little bit lower. I could definitely bring this up a little bit more on my back, but overall I find it pretty comfortable. It doesn't like dig into the like lower back or anything like that. The sternum strap does a pretty decent job taking off a little bit of weight, but I don't really feel like I need it. The size of this bag just really isn't that huge. I don't really feel like I'm missing anything if I didn't have the sternum strap on, so you can definitely take that off. There's a little bit of a whistle, or like a little whistle on it, which is kind of cool for like the outdoorsy stuff if you need a little bit of safety there. But you can see it's just like a pretty basic fit. Nothing really to note other than the fact that with that strap adjustment, you can see this hanging here. And this is what I was talking about, where you can't just like pull it up and adjust the bag really quickly on your body. You can like really give it a little bit of leverage, and you can sort of adjust it, but like not, oh, there it goes. Okay, so a little bit there. But if I wanted to loosen it up, it's definitely a lot easier to loosen it than it is to tighten it, which in the scheme of things, I think it's nice because then your bag isn't constantly slipping out of adjustment, but these flapping around might take a little bit of getting used to. It definitely did for me. So that's just something to keep in mind there. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. But for now, we're gonna look at the external storage. So this is not the laptop. There's like the Kanken, that's the just regular, and then there's the laptop version, and then like a couple other versions that also have a laptop sleeve. This does not have an external laptop sleeve. It's on the inside, so you can see like no extra pockets on the back or anything like that. The only storage pockets we have are on the bottom and on the front. So looking at the front, this is like their traditional storage pocket. It's just like its own individual, like whatever you store in here, this is its own individual literage. It's not gonna cut into the main compartment, so that's nice. So in here is where I put any quick grab items like a phone or a wallet. I have my AirPods in here. I think I have eye drops. And then, oh, this is like a lip glossy type thing. Anyway, chapsticky. So all of that stuff goes in here. It's kind of like a dump pocket, but it works really well for me. We have this nice paracord zipper pull, which gives you like really good grip on the zippers, and they pull shut pretty easily. One of the most annoying things I would say about the Kanken is that all of these zipper tracks are covered by this like fabric welt here, which makes zipping kind of annoying. And you see that very specifically with this bottom pocket, which I'll talk about now. So we have no zipper pull. Well, we have the little tiny metal zipper pulls, no like paracord or anything there. And here, this bottom compartment unzips, but you can see that it's just kind of hard to get around like the corners to get it all zipped up. It's just like a little tedious for me. As you can see, it was very smooth just then, but I swear when I was packing it up this morning and I was putting my shoes in, I was like battling this thing. So I find that half the time I end up like flipping the fabric up and then trying to just unzip it like that, do what I need to do, and then zip it back up and then put the flap down. Again, kind of a nitpicky thing, but I think if like quick access is really what you want, then the Kanken kind of struggles with that. So in here I have a pair of like chunkier sandals. And this, you can see, is just a compartment where this cuts into the main compartment. I'm gonna put the shoes back in a second so that you can see what it looks like when we get in there. But basically whatever you put in here is going to cut into the main compartment space. And then there's a little bit of like its own bucket shaped space down here. So theoretically you could put something like kind of flatter down here. And then this liner will just eventually end up like, when you pack out the main compartment, it'll just kind of meet in the middle. I think this is great if you're somebody who wants to bring like an extra pair of shoes. Like I find myself when I'm like camping or hiking or doing something like that, it's nice to have the option to have sandals, but you don't necessarily want to put them in your bag. And this liner here is relatively easy to clean. It's not gonna like keep water out or anything, but it will keep dirt and that sort of thing. And you can always just like either vacuum it out or turn the bag inside out or something like that. So pretty easy. Again, I'll just show you once I put these in, because we're gonna go into the main compartment, then you can see how it just zips right back up. Okay, there's an example. It kind of like catches on the fabric, I guess, if you don't pull it away fully. and then you can pull that back down, and then you are all good to go. So I like the addition of that pocket. I think that gives it more of like an outdoorsy feel, especially with the water bottle pockets. I would say like if you want a Kanken that's more like outdoor focused versus like everyday, this is a really great option for that because of its durability, but also because of those extra features that make it a little bit easier to get to gear, like a water bottle or an extra pair of shoes. So heading into the main compartment, this unzips like around just these square edges, and then this entire lid folds open. So this is a design, again, with a Kanken, pretty standard. But with this design here, I find it's a little bit difficult to zip around corners, which is like squared corners, which is where I run into most of the problem with the bottom pocket. But you can see this is where that bottom pocket meets. So with the shoes in there, the liner extended as far as it goes, it basically takes up like this bottom chunk of the bag. A good way of looking at it is like when you open this up and you just fold the bag over, that's like basically where it hits. So you lose this much space of the bag. Again, I don't really think it's that huge of a deal, especially if you don't find yourself using this pocket very often, because I'm gonna take the shoes out, zip it back up, and you'll see that now this liner packs completely out of the way, and it's basically like that bottom compartment doesn't exist. So if you want to use this like a normal, Kanken, that's totally fine. With the water bottle pocket, this doesn't cut into it a ton. You can see that like there's a little bit of cutting in that's happening here, but not so much that it's like annoying or hard to pack around. Not any more so than any water bottle pocket that kind of cuts into a main compartment, So I've got just a couple of different like pouch things here, and those fit in there nicely. And then I've got like an extra layer. And so in here, I was able to do, I think 2 nights of clothes in a toiletry bag. And I wore the same shoes every day. So with that, I was like totally good to go. So if you capsule wardrobe it, you're totally set to use this as like a personal item. I've also used a Kanken in general as a personal item, and it's worked really well just going in front of the seat, under the seat in front of me on an airplane. So this is a great personal item bag. It's also super easy to pack because of that square shape, because you can really start to like I packed all my pouches out here, and then I had this just kind of chilling up at the top. It also has a decent amount of depth to it, so you can do something like this toiletry bag, which you have like an inch or 2 maybe left of space, and then you can zip around it. So you can kind of mess with it, get whatever packability makes the most sense for you. But at the very bottom here is where we have that seat pad and laptop compartment. So I was really only able to comfortably fit a 13-inch in here. Maybe a 15-inch would fit. 16-inch was just too tight. So I couldn't really get it like around this bit to fit in there comfortably. So I wouldn't really rely on this as a laptop backpack, just kind of in general though, because it does have a bit of it's a little bit of a false bottom, not really though. Actually, no, I would say this is not a false bottom, because what I'm feeling for here is I put my hand in that sleeve and it's coming right down to this edge here, and it's a little bit padded down there, but not enough, so I wouldn't call it a false bottom. And then in here we have a seat pad, which is pretty standard for a Kanken, so you could sit down on a hike or something like that. The disadvantage is that that seat pad and your laptop is at the very, very, very bottom of the bag. So I had it more than once because I was using this as my daily bag for commute to and from work. I would load everything I needed for the day, and then I had been like working in the morning, and then I was like, oh, I need to put my laptop in here. So I'd have to take everything out and then put my laptop in. So for me, that's the most annoying thing about this. That's why I prefer the Kanken that has the laptop sleeve. Maybe one day they'll make a version of this that has a separate laptop compartment. Who knows, right? But that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be doing a lot of work on a laptop and you're going to be taking it in and out. Something to keep in mind is that everything you put in this bag is going to be on top of that, and it's kind of hard to get to. Another thing that's nice, the regular Kanken doesn't have, is this top zippered pocket. I used this for I put like deodorant and stuff in here, or my glasses, like if I was wearing my contacts. But it's like a nice little roomy pocket, a little bit elevated. Tech also goes really well in here. So I like the addition of that. I think it's just like one more extra thing that's organization inside the main compartment that the regular Kanken doesn't have. So I think, like I said, this is just kind of like the upgraded version, where if you feel like your Kanken is missing a few features, this has all of them at once. And I think it does it pretty well. So there you have it, the Fjallraven Kanken Outlong. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.